I had to go through this moment where the thing that defined me earlier in my life was just for that period of my life.
What would you say to anyone who feels like they're in reverse? For me, that's just soul destroying.
In the silence of being with myself and the beauty of the world around us and watching people, I realized that there's more to life than feeling trapped in one path. I'm Brian Fenty, the CEO and founder of TodayTix Group. We've got 200 employees, and this is my duvet flip.
What excited you about entrepreneurship?
It's autonomy. Autonomy is a parallel for accountability. It's trying to find a job and a career where you can chart your own course and trust your gut and your intuition and test it.
Did you feel boxed?
I did feel boxed. When I was in finance, it's much more of a playbook that's already been defined. There's already a path and a protocol and a way of being. That's why the money is good. Because actually, you're boxed in enough that they need to make it rewarding and exciting. As an investor, not everybody wants their investors to be in the business. And so I said, my God, I need to find a place to jump in.
How did you find that place to jump in?
In New York, I'd walk past the TKTS booth every day. And there were 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people a day in that line. I just kept thinking, there's something off about this experience. And it was just clear as day to me. There has to be another way.
What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of bed in the morning to flip the duvet?
I think it is this notion that if... I'm Brian Fenty, the CEO and founder of TodayTix Group. Before sitting down with Jack, I have to say, this is taking me back to my theater career. I'm feeling a little nervous before going on stage. I'm really excited to tell the genesis story of TodayTix and how we started it and what we stand for and why it's our duvet flip. The one thing I hope people really take away from this is that theater isn't an inaccessible thing, and it will make a big difference in their lives. Hi, Jack. It's showtime, I guess.
So welcome to my duvet flip. How are we?
We are amazing. It's another beautiful cloudy day in London. Happy to be here.
It's always cloudy in London.
It's a bright cloud.
It is a bright cloud. And I'm so excited to have you on the show because your career and what you are doing, what you've done and what you're doing is just incredible. I don't know where to start. Normally I know, Brian, I know where normally to start. But you know what? I want to go back down memory lane and then we'll build it up. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. But tell me, like, first piece of work, first job, what was it? What did it teach you? If you're speaking to your younger self now, what would you be telling him?
Well, my first job actually was as a child actor when I was 7 years old, 6, 7 years old. I grew up in a really humble family, not a lot of money, small town, and I wasn't good at sports. I didn't have a video game or computer or anything to do at home, and there was a theater in my town. It was really the only business, was a theater in my town. And they had a camp over the summer. And I went to this camp and I got cast in a show, and that started what was a long 30-year love affair with the power to change an audience. So that was my first real job. I did 55 shows between the ages of 6 and 14. And I used that money that I made to sort of crank my way through school and to be able to ultimately go on to what I guess you could say was my first real job, which was working for the New York Yankees.
Wow. Wow.
Started as an intern and working in the stadium from the time the first fan got there to the last pitch. And it was really an exciting experience.
And how important is working hard and just going and giving it a go? Because a lot of people will say, well, I'll try and get through education first and then I'll see how it goes and then I'll delay that a little bit by obviously traveling across Europe and A, B and C. But for you, like, why was it all about, let me just get my hands dirty, let me just work and give it a go?
Yeah, I don't know that there was another mode for me. I mean, if you think about a car, you're either forward or you're in reverse, and reverse was never fun. I mean, it's hard to drive in reverse. And so I think for me, it was always that drive and that desire to just ask questions and see where those questions led me. I always say I was never the smartest kid. I was never the fastest, but I was always curious and asking, what's next? What if we did this? What if we looked at it another way? And that's always attracted me to building things and meeting new people. And so that's my speed.
I love it. What would you say to anyone who feels like they're in reverse and they're driving reverse? Because for me, that's just soul destroying. But like, when they're in the situation, what's your advice to anyone who feels they're not driving forward, but actually in reverse at the moment?
I think the first thing, obviously, is you just have to take yourself out. Forget whether you're
Just get out of the car.
Just get out of the car. Go for a walk in a field, breathe the fresh air. I mean, and truly, I know that sounds silly, but having lived in the country and in cities and traveling, and I spent a lot of my life on an airplane, sometimes taking the AirPods out, turning the devices off, walking around and just trying to recenter around what's your North Star? What are you trying to do? Where are you going? And also, is it authentic to who you are? So often I meet with young entrepreneurs, young people entering the workforce. They're stuck in second gear, they're stuck in reverse, and I ask them, well, why are you doing that? Oh, well, because mom told me to do that, or because that's the degree I got in college. I've spent a small fortune, I'm in debt, I have to get out of debt. And I think it's all about taking away those moments of pressure that perhaps lead us in the wrong direction. And the minute you do that, you can sort of realize life is long, there's no right answer, there's no perfection out of the gate, one foot in front of the next.
Absolutely. And was there any moment in your career leading up to what you're doing today, which we'll get into in the second half, but like where you just thought like, I need to take the AirPods out, I need to get out of this car, what's bloody going on? I need to kind of solve this.
Oh, so many times. But I think there were two real moments where I had to get out of the car. I think the first was, as I said, I started in theater. I was an actor, I was a performer. And I realized that was sort of like when you play a sport casually as a kid. It's not your career. You don't think you're going to become Ronaldo. So you have to sort of separate what's fun and and so I had to go through this moment where the thing that defined me earlier in my life was just for that period of my life. And so that was the first moment where I just got out and I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to uni and I'm going to just have some fun. I'm going to meet some new people. I'm going to explore a lot of different things. The second thing is I went into a career in investments, and it was a great career. I was good at it. You made money. It was lucrative. I came from nothing, so it was this amazing moment to say, oh my God, I can buy a car, I can buy a house. And then I realized that it wasn't scratching my itch. It wasn't as thought-provoking. It wasn't full of joy for me. It was just a job. And I saw all of these entrepreneurs running around operating, making mistakes. It was messy, it was dirty, it was complicated. And I was jealous of that energy. I was jealous that they could run fast and hit a wall and move back and start again. And so that was the second moment where I sort of had to, and I remember I actually went, which I've never really taken holiday, which I feel guilty about. It's not advice that I would give. But I remember I took 3 or 4 weeks and I just traveled to different places. I got in a car and I drove. I went to Europe, which I had never been to Europe at the time. And in that process, in the silence of being with myself and the beauty of the world around us and watching people, I realized that there's more to life than just going and feeling trapped in one path.
Absolutely. I've got 2 questions on that because you've opened up a lot of curiosity. So firstly, you went into investments. I'm just going to use one word and I'm just going to let you speak. Or it's 2 words, or maybe it's one. I'm dyslexic, so I don't know. Imposter syndrome.
Mm. One of the defining emotions of my life and my career. And I would say it's really easy for people to say, I have imposter syndrome. But I think the truth is, if you have imposter syndrome, but you're good at what you do, it's not just that you have imposter syndrome. It's also that you have confidence, but you're not comfortable with being confident. You feel that it might be ego or arrogance or some sort of misplaced comfort with who you are. And so I would argue now, I'm turning 40 this year, having looked at the 30 years I've been working basically since I was 10 years old, I really think that imposter syndrome is the other side of the dumbbell of confidence. And it's about actually balancing both of those, because they'll always exist. They're the 2 sides to my thought process every day.
Absolutely. As an entrepreneur or anyone, you do have them, don't you? Me personally, I'm always thinking when they're going to figure me out.
Exactly. Exactly. And by the way, they'll always figure you out, but they'll figure out who you are, what you can deliver and what you can bring. And so, it's funny. I know in a way we're not talking about work specifically right now, but when I think about how I run a board, I have boards with very powerful, successful, wealthy, accomplished people on them, many turns ahead of my career. And it's always interesting because you have to decide how you want to manage these people who spend their careers managing people like us, maybe. And I always send a report every Monday morning to every board member with the results of the business, the actual details, the operating model. And the board members always say to me, Brian, we never get this transparency from a CEO. And I say, I do it because I never want to be tempted to tell a story or a narrative around how the business is doing. I want how the business is doing to speak on its own. And I think that's very similar to being found out, is actually just show up as you every day. And then there's nothing to find out other than who you are and what your North Star is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Transparency, right? And then everything else comes into play. And actually, because those individuals around the board are experienced and are 10 steps in their career to where we are, they then ask you the questions which then get you thinking in a different way.
Exactly. The only point of a board is, maybe the skeptical view or the cynical view is to keep some risk parameters in place. But the other is they're a treasure chest of things that they can teach you, mostly based on the mistakes they've made in their career. And the minute you realize they don't have the answers, they actually just know how things look when they're broken. That's the liberating part of a board. And it took me a moment, and I sit on a few boards now, and it took me a moment to be, it's not that I should speak up every time I think I know an answer. It's actually, how do you work with an entrepreneur or an operator and say, this reminds me of a time when the glass broke, or the door was locked, or I couldn't budge. That's where a board or a mentor or a friend who's maybe a few clicks ahead in their career, that's the value, I think.
I absolutely agree. And then my second point is you got a little jealous of these individuals running into the wall, chaos, doing things, all this kind of stuff that you think, why are you getting jealous of that? And it's the thing called entrepreneurship. What excited you about the fun and the energy, but also the chaos and the things look really messy in an entrepreneur that wanted you to kind of go forward of entrepreneurship?
It's a great question, and it's a hard one to answer. I think it comes to a word in my mind that's autonomy. And I say autonomy versus control because I think the key to great entrepreneurship is to learn the difference. You might not be able to control everything, but autonomy, to me, is a parallel for accountability. It's trying to find a job and a career where you can chart your own course and trust your gut and your intuition and test it. And I saw all these operators testing their intuition. That's what that hitting a wall is. It's not that it's hitting a wall, it's testing your intuition. Oh, my gut tells me, the data tells me, my gut tells me we should go left. Well, that's a dead end. And so you go, oh, what was it about that? Was it an input that was wrong? Was it the data, or was it my intuition? And so you're always calibrating, and we were talking a little bit earlier about it's 1% every day. It's 1% every decision you make better, adjusted, a new framework, a new perspective. And so that's, to me, when I was in finance, it's much more of a playbook that's already been defined. And yes, your intuition can play into it, but there's already sort of a path and a protocol and a way of being.
Did you feel boxed?
I did feel boxed. And I think in a way, that's why the money is good. It's why the effort is at a different pace. Because actually, you're boxed in enough that they need to They need to make it rewarding and exciting. And there's nothing, by the way, my investors are some of the greatest advisors I've ever had. They know how to unlock a business, but they're comfortable in the pause of watching a business. Whereas I saw a pause of watching the business as an invitation to be in the business. And as an investor, not everybody wants their investors to be in the business. And so I said, my God, I need to find a place to jump in.
So what happened next? How did you find that place to jump in?
So on my way to work every day, I walk. I'm a walker. So in London, I walk 8 miles a day to and from my office to my home, rain or shine, snow, sleet, whatever it is.
All of that in London.
All of that in London. And in New York, I would walk from downtown to my office in Midtown, and I'd walk past the TKTS booth, the half-price ticket booth, every day. And there were 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people a day in that line, queuing up, rain, heat. And they didn't even know what ticket they were going to get. They didn't even know what show they could see. And I just kept thinking, there's something off about this experience. It was 2011, 12. We had technology, we had Uber, we had Airbnb, we had all these great mobile experiences. Why were we taking one of the greatest cultural treasures in the world, Broadway and the West End, and why are we having thousands of people queue up in Leicester Square and Times Square? And I did a lot of research, and I found out that hundreds of millions of dollars and pounds were being transacted in those booths. Wow. And it was just clear as day to me, there has to be another way.
A system, yeah.
There has to be a way where we care about the audience more. Mm-hmm. And again, I grew up in a family that couldn't afford to see a lot of theater. And I know you share that background. I grew up in a world where theater was a luxury, that if you went, it was that holy grail moment. And also, because of that, it felt a little old. It felt a little like something maybe you did with your grandparents, or it's something your parents did with their parents. And so I just set my mission right then and there. We were going to start TodayTix. We didn't know the name at that point, but we're going to start TodayTix. We're going to take the TKTS booth and put it on your phone. And our North Star was that we were going to find a seat for everyone. And that was our mission 12 years ago. And it's our mission today, unchanged.
Love it. And talking about, obviously, we had a little conversation off camera around, I've only ever been to one theatre, one show. And that is a show that you personally bought, right?
Unbelievable. What a small world.
And so tell me, I know we're jumping here, and we're gonna go back, but tell me why you personally wanted to buy Mousetrap, and for you, what was it?
I think it goes to what we were talking about earlier about this desire to drive forward. So through TodayTix, over again more than a decade, we've seen audiences from all walks of life, and we really care about listening to audiences. I think there's, everybody always talks about data, and especially in an AI world, data. But what we like to say is, do you actually know your audience member? Does the data tell you anything that allows you to give a better experience, to show them how they might enjoy their night out? Whether that's sitting third row at an expensive show, or whether that's going to a festival out in a park, or whether that's going to a fair or an exhibition or an attraction, or whatever it might be, there is another way. And so as a result of that, at TodayTix, I've seen a lot of different opportunities, investments, partnerships, and as luck would have it, 2 years ago, on my desk, the longest running play in the history of the world appears, Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap. I had never seen it. I go and I see the show, and I'm looking around me. I expected it would be an older audience. All different walks of life, all from all different countries in the world, all sitting in this temple that is theater, the St. Martin's Lane Theater, and looking around, enjoying, laughing, gasping together, talking at the interval about, oh, who do you think did it? Who done it? And this is magic. This is magic. And what's great about it is the show doesn't need any help. It's been around for 75 years. However, we can use technology and hospitality to build the energy around the show, to elevate it. And that's what we've done. We're building new bars, a speakeasy, a train car bar.
cool.
We've added backstage tours. You can actually go into the snow room
wow.
where the actors go. So it's now a multi-sensory Mousetrap.
I love that. I love that. And I can see the entrepreneurness, even if that's a word, I think it is, where you...
Let's go with it.
Just go with it. That you've taken something that creates so much culture and feeling. I remember the feeling and what I had when I first went to my first ever theatre show, being the show you run now, and I was just like, oh wow, isn't that endearing? Isn't that just, it got me thinking. I'm a big reflector. I was just like, wow. And it just took me into a whole new world, a world that I never thought I could ever step into because of my background being very poor, a bit like yourself from your background. Just like it opened my whole world.
It can transport you. I mean, and that's, by the way, one of the reasons I'm still, all these years later, still at TodayTix. And we've just sold the business, actually, and I'm now running a much larger portfolio of live events. And one of the reasons I'm so passionate about it is in an AI world where none of us know what college and university will look like in 10 years, what getting a degree will look like in 10 years, what our jobs will be. But what I do know is humans will want to come together in the cities and towns and communities that they live in. They will want to laugh and cry together. They will want to have their expectations blown. They will want to understand why Netflix in streaming, as amazing as it is, can also be pulled into the live. And that's what I'm here to do. I can't solve any of those other things. That's for really smart people to do, and for you to get people to engage at home and to understand the corners of their mind and what they're capable of. And my job is to then partner with your audiences to say, okay, Jack just put something in my head that was really interesting. Now I've got to get out and do it. And that's what we want to do, is create venues and experiences that get people to say, yeah, I'll do that again.
I love that. I use this saying, in a world of AI, be more human. Because I think there's nothing more than people experiencing things face to face. Hence why our principle, and it's always been on this show, we've had so many superstars, I mean big superstars saying, I'll do your show if it's virtual, and us having to say no.
Absolutely not. You can feel it when you're with people.
Yeah.
You can feel it. And by the way, we all already had a great experience 5 years ago where we had to learn to find joy in humanity through a screen. And what we all learned was we like parts of that, but you can't do it all. You can't get to that final mile of the marathon without having the in-person.
So you saw this problem, you wanted to put it into on your phone because that cue was obviously really annoying you, and you started it. What was the 3 biggest things that you failed on to start with?
The first one, which I still live with to this day, was the name TodayTix. I always say it's my gift and my curse. I was looking for a website, a brand name, couldn't call it Ticketmaster, couldn't call it XYZ. We were just going to be a day of only app because that's what the booth was. So the product was very narrow. And I went on to a website for buying domain names, and it was $9.99. And I said, yeah, I can afford that. And that's the name. Now, over the last 12 years, we've gone from day of to week of to year out, front row to back row, musicals and plays to attractions and all of it. And so we're a much bigger business. Now, the name isn't the issue. The issue is that I now every day have to re-educate my team to say, don't be confined by the name. Don't let the name, it says TodayTix, who cares? It's an amazing brand. It's the highest rated ticketing company in the world. We have 28 million people. We have more millennials than any other ticketing business. I said, we've done that together. And so I think that's one, which is the name. The second is, and I don't know if this is a failure so much as it was a reality of my business, which is we knew what we wanted the audience to feel. We wanted to build ticketing and technology for a new world, for an audience-forward world. So often ticketing was built for the venues. And so, of course, The venues were not happy that a new disruptive young kid was coming to New York.
Who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are? And so there were 3 major theater owners and who are now my friends, my partners, my collaborators. But when I first went to them 12 years ago, the first one slammed the door and said, mobile's not going anywhere. Nobody's gonna spend any time or money on mobile. The second one slammed the door and said, young people aren't our concern. We built theater for older people, and when young people become older people, then we will service them.
And you expect them to just automatically fall into loving the theatre?
Yeah, and learning what it even is. And then the third theater owner, I respect this one, he just said, it's my inventory and I don't want to give it to you. And so that's how we started. And we basically had to, and this is the crazy, delirious thing about entrepreneurialism, is we should have stopped the business right then and there. We should have.
Well, that's data to say, okay, what's next?
What's right? And instead, we said, oh, we're on to something. And we reversed and we said, okay, we're not going to be able to start on Broadway. We're going to have to start off Broadway in a small theater. And we're going to have to build the technology. And we're going to have to get audience feedback. And we're going to have to continue again and again and again to iterate until the product was so integral and big enough that you couldn't say no. And that took on and off 10 or 12 years to do. But, you know, happy to say it all worked out okay.
And how does that feel? Like, from choosing the domain, picking the name, to people saying no, it won't work, or because of this, and then you having to pivot to get to where you are. That must feel great, Brian. That must feel like...
I feel an amazing sense of pride. I would say more, I feel gratitude that the world is not absolute. It is always ebbing and flowing. And so if you remind yourself that you got to be in forward, that you have to be driving, that you get out when you need to and you get some fresh air, but that you keep going, that the world will reward you for that in different ways, small and large. But I think that that's probably what I'm most proud of, is that we had the perseverance as a team, my co-founder, my executive team, those who came and left over our journey, that they all contributed a little sweat and a little discomfort.
A little 1%, right?
A little 1%. And by the way, even the employees who came and didn't believe in our mission, and we learned that after the fact, and they ended up leaving, maybe not on the best terms, but they actually left something.
And they added 1% to it.
They did. Because they probably forced us to think about, are we on the right path? Are we listening to the right metric? I mean, I always say, so many of my employees said, well, this producer wants that, and this show wants that, and this venue wants that. And I always say, what does the audience want? Because what we do different from every other ticketing company is we only care about the audience. Because I believe that if you get it right for the audience, the producers win, the venues win, the creators win, everybody wins.
So that we won't get started, but it's a little bit about like the landlord and tenant situation. It's focus on the audience.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly right. Know who your audience is, know who your user is, know who your customer is, truly. And if you do and you build the product for them that nobody else can disrupt, you're golden.
I've got 2 questions on this. So first one's around entrepreneurship. Is anyone that's tuning in that wants to be an entrepreneur, they're trying to figure it out, they don't have an idea, but they know they want to do it. What's your advice to those?
So it's funny, I've told you that one of my mantras is to always start an answer with yes and. Don't start with a no. But in this particular case,
You're going to start it with a no.
I'm going to start by saying, don't feel pressured to start an idea that your heart and your mind isn't 100% all in. Because if you're not all in, you're going to go through the lowest of lows. You're going to have some highs, but by the way, you're going to have more lows than you're going to have highs building a business. There's going to be more dark days where you run out of money, you're a week away from payroll, and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? You're fired by a key client because they found a better deal that you can't match. There's somebody who makes an irrational bargain. You know, business is, it's sharp and it's crusty and it's cranky and And it's all of that gnarly stuff. And so I would say, I see so many young entrepreneurs who just start an idea because they feel like that's the way to start being an entrepreneur. And I would say, I've had so many great entrepreneurs who have started working for me because they're at an entrepreneurial company. And they know that they'll never be the founder of TodayTix because they came 10 years too late or 12 years too late. I would have loved to have them as founders. But I always say to them, write your own story at TodayTix. Come in and help me tell this in a new way, with a new perspective. Be the entrepreneur of your own stake of the sandbox, you know? And I think that's sort of the advice I'd give is, don't feel lost in the desert. Find a sandbox. Give yourself some boundaries and tie yourself into that. Life is long. You don't need to be an entrepreneur at 25 or 29 or 30. Entrepreneurialism is a state of mind. Whether or not you own the business is a separate piece. And you can actually earn that nowadays a lot easier.
I agree. I like that. So forget about the desert, find the sandbox, and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
And my second part of the question is, I love how your audience, if it should be like with every industry, right? Unfortunately, it's not. Anyone that's tuning in today, and maybe a message to me as well, who have not been to theatre for some time, but should go. Why should we watch this? And the next couple of actions after tonight's dinner is to book ourselves a ticket at the theatre. Why should we?
Because if I'm tuning into you, I've already made a commitment and a promise to invest in myself. I'm curious. I want to learn from others. I want to tell stories. I want to engage with exciting, high-flying companies. I want to think about the world in a different, more expansive way. In theater, art, creativity, it's one of those rare things that we as humans can do and experience together in a way that nothing else in this world can engage with that. And so I would argue, in the same way that they're tuning into you, if you go to the theater, to an art fair, to a live event, if you go sit in a space and take in a museum quietly and look at a painting, even though you say, oh, I don't really like museums, I'm not really an art guy. If you sit there and maybe don't even look at the art, look at the people around you, look at how the world, that will shape a business idea, a connection with your family, a connection with your partner, your loved one. It might challenge you, by the way. So I like to see a lot of theater that's just happy. It allows me to lose myself. You don't have to make theater hard. And so what I would just say is, theater can be for everybody. Art can be for everybody. My job is to use technology to make it lower risk, so it's a lower cost, so it's easier for us to get you to the thing you might like, and so that we give you a feedback loop to have a conversation with whoever you went to the theater with, or if you go by yourself. It's a great way to explore your own mind in the city that you're in.
I love that. You sold it to me.
I'll see you at the theater.
I'll see you there. You've got two boys, 5 and 6, and you said they sound English. Yeah.
They do.
I've spoken on about 250 stages. I still get nervous every time as you do, because you just don't know what the new audience, yet again, you want to add value to the audience. When young entrepreneurs come to me, or anyone comes to me and says, oh, you've spoken on a lot of stages, what's your advice? And my literally advice to them is, be more American. And then they say, what do you mean by that? And I was just like, don't worry. But can you help me break that down? Can you know what I mean, don't you? Storytelling, great storyteller, just going with the flow. You're not trying to constrain a message that your PR agency's put together for you. You're just being yourself.
Well, there's the answer, right? I think.
But do you get what I'm saying when I say that, or are you just thinking, what's this English guy talking about?
So it's funny. I haven't ever put it towards being American, but I do think there's something about a risk-taking culture that means you're willing to both say it like it is, but also dream at the same time. And I think one of the things I had to learn as I've traveled and lived in a lot of different places is there's a lot of cultures that are happy with that end result, but to get there, they almost view the journey as a series of boulders that they're purposefully pushing in front of you to see if you can get over them. Whereas I think the American mindset is there's enough boulders already in the journey that we're going to climb over and jump over, and we're going to build a bridge over this one, and we're going to swim around that one. And that's fun, by the way. We'll love to talk about that. Because if we teach you how to swim around that boulder, you're going to be able to teach us how to leap over the next one. And I think so often, and again, I won't get into the cultures of it, but so often people bring almost a responsibility that their job is to make it really hard for you, so that if you get there, you've earned it. You're going to earn it anyway. And so actually what our job is to cheer you on. Our job is to have a laugh. This is hard work. Life is hard.
I've noticed that,
right?
And I love it. And I would also add, and those individuals who think that it's their job to put the boulder in front of you will also decide whether you deserve to move forward with that boulder as well, isn't it?
How many times in my career did somebody say, if it was so easy, it would have been done before? Well, guess what? First of all, it might have been done before. That doesn't make it a bad idea. How many different social networks are there? How many different streaming platforms are there? How many different architects are there in the world? It's not like we have one architect every 30 years to build all of our buildings and then we move on to the next one. The texture of our world is all about people taking things that have been done before and spinning them just a little bit off their axis. And if I could inspire one thing to my team and to my boys, it's have your unique vision of the world and just know that you can be confident enough that if you have the conviction for it, you can spin it in a slightly different motion. And that's what I hope. It's no matter where you're from, when you go stand on that stage, just spin your own story. Tell your world the way you see it. And again, as I told you, I always bring the facts, the data, but I also bring my experience. And no one can discount that.
And lots of energy.
And energy.
Energy is empowering.
Well, energy is the greatest intoxicating feeling, right? If you don't have energy, if you don't have helium, as my team knows I call it, then the room is always flat. And a flat room is not a room for ideas. A room for ideas is the sandbox. It's the place that feels energetic and open and forgiving. And, you know, as entrepreneurs, we have to fail fast and we have to fail often and we have to fail every day. If we're not failing, we're doing the same thing. And the same thing is never going to win long term.
Absolutely. Question, what makes a good entrepreneur a bad entrepreneur? And do you believe in good and bad entrepreneurs, or do you just how do you see it?
I don't believe in a good and a bad entrepreneur. I believe there is an entrepreneurial frame of mind, and I believe there are people who want to be entrepreneurs but don't possess the ability to think in that way, and or haven't found it. And so I think so often you meet an entrepreneur, and I always ask them, what does that mean to you? If you self-describe as an entrepreneur, what is that? And what you very quickly learn is they want control. And it goes back to that lesson. Entrepreneurialism is not about control. It's about the ability to take ideas and expand them and play with them and yield them and nurture them to scale. And I think that's the creativity. It requires creativity and grit and stamina and curiosity.
And showing impact on the world.
Impact.
Yeah.
And that's why we do it, right? What separates a founder-led company from any other company? It doesn't make one right or wrong, good or bad. It just means a founder-led company is always going to have vision as the North Star, not a financial goal. And there's a reason why our mission at TodayTix is find a seat for everyone, because it is both an emotional, altruistic goal, which is we truly want everyone, no matter where they come from, to feel welcome at a theater, at a show. But we also say everyone, which means it's a big vision. It will make money. It will impact the world. It will be a great business. But that's sort of downstream. Let's just first build the tech and the tools and the vision to get there.
Leon and I have just launched a vision to help 1 billion people with their careers, work, money, and well-being. This show has helped 10.9 million people with career advice, so we just upped it to 100 million. We've had different types of people laugh, say you'll never get there. We've find a seat for everyone. Did people laugh at you? Did they say, oh, that's not possible? And what was your response to that?
You will always have critics, laughter, naysayers, and the response is the same as it always is for an entrepreneur. Keep going. Stay on your course. If you see the impact, we used to have our offices in cool, trendy areas of cities, in Tribeca in New York, and Shoreditch in London, and I moved everyone to Times Square and Covent Garden because I want my engineers and my data scientists and my marketers and my admins, I want them to walk out of the office every night and I want them to see, in the case of London, 15 million people a year from all walks of life walking into a theater and leaving with a smile on their face, with a tear in the corner of their eyes, liking it, disliking it. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we helped put those people in that theater, and now it will just slightly change the arc of their life. That's powerful. So I don't listen to the naysayers. I keep going one foot in front of the next, march to your North Star. And my only question to you is, what's after 1 billion?
I love that. We've only got time for one more question. Are you ready for it?
Oh my goodness, yes.
It's gone quick. I could talk to you for hours. She's so insightful and I love the energy. There's this saying that Leon and I use, are they a drain or a radiator? And you want to be around radiators, and today this conversation has been full of radiators, thank you.
Thank you.
But are you ready for it?
Let's do it.
What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of bed in the morning to flip the duvet?
I think it is this notion that if people allow themselves to experience something live in a room full of strangers, that they can change their life and their perspective. And in the same way that you influence people every day, I believe that culture and the unique ability in this AI world for us to create and to showcase and to bring the human experience out, I believe it will make humanity better and richer. And that's my duvet flip, finding a seat for everyone.
I love that. That's cool. That's really cool.